Today we will give you a short presentation on the operating modes and rules for the joint standardization work. And to guide you through this presentation, I'm here with my colleagues Katerina Kokezova and Constant Kohler, who are both program managers in the Standard Directorate. Constant, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nathalie. Good morning, everyone. My name is Constant Kohler, and I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to present my first 1010 webinar. So what is the purpose of today's 1010 webinar? So the scope is the following. So as you may know, over the years, the number of cross-sectoral standardization activities has significantly increased, requiring efficient cooperation and coordination among the several bodies involved. So this webinar will present the specific operating modes and rules related to joint standardization work. It will cover cooperation between technical committees and working groups, within or between CEN and CENELEC, or with ETSI, as well as the several types of liaison that a technical committee can have, for instance, with research projects and EU Federation. Furthermore, I just want you to know that in this presentation, we will mainly focus on joint standardization work between the European Standardization Organization, CEN, CENELEC, and ETSI. We will not cover the cooperation between CEN and ISO under the Vienna Agreement and between CENELEC and ISC under the Frankfurt Agreement, as this was addressed in a previous 1010 webinar, which you can find on the CEN-CENELEC website. So here on the screen, you can see the table of content and the different items we will cover in this presentation. So to start, I would like to give the floor to my colleague Katerina to introduce you, to update you about the activities of joint technical committees.
Thank you, Constant, and good morning. So my name is Katerina, and first I would like to introduce to you the work of CEN-CENELEC joint technical committees. As you may know, according to a recent CEN-CENELEC PT decision, actually from the beginning of this year, only CEN and CENELEC joint technical committees are to be created now and in the future, and the previously existing joint working groups have ceased to exist. Therefore, the joint technical committees are created to address common technical subjects between CEN and CENELEC, and usually this is the case when there is no existing CEN or CENELEC competent body in existence. It is both the CEN and CENELEC technical boards which decide on the scope and on the field of activity of the new joint technical committee which is to be created, and they decide through a consultation which lasts 12 weeks. And in order for the joint technical committee to be actually established, we need at least 5 countries that commit to actively participate to the work. As regards the leadership, the Secretariat is given to a CEN or CENELEC national member, and it is the responsibility of the Secretariat to nominate the chair, which is then also appointed by both technical boards. There is also the possibility to have a vice chair of a joint technical committee, and if this is the case, then usually the chair and vice chair should come from 2 different organizations, meaning the chair would come from, if the chair is from CEN, then vice chair would be from CENELEC and vice versa. The membership of a joint technical committee is composed of CEN and CENELEC representatives, and together they form one common delegation per country. And therefore it's important to note that prior to each plenary meeting of a joint technical committee, the NSBs and NCs should come together to agree on a common position. When we look at the work items approval, development of deliverables and publication, the joint technical committees should use the general form for new work items approval, but in addition to the usual information, they also shall include in the form a proposal for the lead organization. There is no specific place where to actually do this, but you can see on the screenshot that can be added just by writing under which lead the work item is going to be developed, as on the slide. The Joint Technical Committee decides through a common internal ballot, which lasts 8 weeks, and then the proposal is approved by both technical boards. Throughout the development process, the documents which are prepared are submitted to the lead organization for inquiry, formal vote, ratification, and publication, according to the rules and procedures of the lead organization. Therefore, the voting for inquiry and for formal vote takes place in the lead organization, but the non-leading organization is informed because the CCMC publication unit provides or dispatches the documents to both organizations. And when we get to the publication stage, of course, the developed documents bear both CEN and CENELEC logos. Just to inform you of some other rules that should be followed by CEN and CENELEC joint technical committees. As mentioned in the previous slide, decisions are taken by simple majority with 1 vote per country. Joint technical committees should also submit reports to the CEN and CENELEC technical boards after every plenary meeting that they have, informing the boards on the most important decisions that were taken and highlighting any important discussion that has taken place. JTCs can also agree to have a liaison with European federations. And once again, they agree on the liaison through a common internal ballot, and then both technical boards need to endorse this decision. And it's also good to know that the Secretariat of the Joint Technical Committee can choose which electronic platform it wants to use for the live link or the collaboration tool. Now going on to the work of CEN-CENELEC BT working groups. These are set up by technical boards when they identify a technical or a strategic need for advice, study, or rules. As example of advice, we have the CEN-CENELEC BT Working Group 6 on ICT standardization, and I will ask Constant to give us some information on this work.
Yeah, thank you, Katarina. I just wanted to provide you with a quick snapshot on the role of BT Working Group 6, as it is a very good example of CEN-CENELEC cooperation, since ICT standardization is a cross-cutting issue, or I would rather say opportunity, so the group advises on ICT standardization in the most horizontal way. And it is also providing an interface between TCs, technical boards, and the various CEN-CENELEC governing bodies. It also acts as the interface with the European Commission, notably the multi-stakeholder platform on ICT standardization and the ICT rolling plan. Its role is also to act as the interface with GTC1, and this group was also involved in the CEN-CENELEC digital transformation plan for its definition and implementation. So when it comes to advising CEN-CENELEC, BT Working Group 6 is a very good example of an holistic approach on ICT standardization.
Thank you, Constant. Regarding a study, we have the example of CEN-CENELEC BT Working Group 11 on sustainable chemicals, which was established in response to an ancillary action from the European Commission. It comprises of experts from both CEN and CENELEC, and its responsibility is to prepare and draft a report with a mapping of existing standards and other standardization documents in relevant fields related to sustainable chemicals from primary and secondary raw materials. We also have an example of CEN-CENELEC BT Working Group 12 on harmonized standards and the European regulatory framework, which serves as a platform, a discussion platform for any technical issue related to harmonized standards. But at the same time, it has also made several proposals for improving the existing rules and procedures to the technical boards. The composition of BT working groups is defined by technical boards in the decision. And since they are set up by the boards, they also have to report directly to technical boards on regular basis. And this is the case with any technical bodies of CEN and CENELEC. The BT working groups are disbanded once their task has finished.
Okay, thank you, Katarina. So the next item is about the CEN-CENELEC ETI cooperation within the frame of technical committees. So here I would like to highlight the joint technical work with ETI participation in the context of the integrated regulation with ETI. For this purpose, we have to rely on the CEN-CENELEC internal regulation part 2 and notably the Mode 5 cooperation. According to which, the creation of a joint technical body with ETI participation, the definition of its scope and allocation of its secretariat shall be decided upon by the Joint President's Group, GPG. This GPG decision shall be ratified by the ETI board and the technical boards of the other ISO involved. Regarding the participation in a joint technical body, it shall be open to ETSI members, national delegation like NSB and NC of CEN and CENEC. The European Commission and the EFTA Secretariat may also participate as observers. Furthermore, the joint technical body shall draft its work program, clearly indicating the leading ISO for each work item. The work program, including the assigned leadership of each work item, shall be endorsed by the ETSI board and the technical boards of CEN and CENELEC. For each work item, the drafting rules of the lead ISO shall be applied. And what is also important is that a joint technical body operates on the consensus of participants. In terms of procedures, the lead ISO shall organize the public inquiry in accordance with its rules and procedures with due information to the other ISOs, in order for the latter to be in a position to inform its members and invite them to liaise with their counterpart in the lead ISO if they so wish. So the results of the public inquiry and the comments received are examined by the joint technical body. The technical committee establishes the resulting final draft for vote, then a vote. The formal vote is launched in each ISO. Furthermore, the ISOs involved have the joint ownership of the publication, for which they ensure the distribution in accordance with their respective practices and principles. Each ISO is responsible for the maintenance of the standards. Another aspect I would like to mention is that the terms of references of such groups are really important. They should be drafted within the frame of the Mode 5 cooperation to align in details the processes between CEN, CENELEC, and ETSI. So for the time being, at CEN, CENELEC, ETSI, we have only one joint working group, which is about e-accessibility, which is active under the frame of the mandate 554 on accessibility of website and mobile application of public sector. And I also would like to add that for this joint working group, it has to develop a standard within less than 1 year. So this is another good example of the good cooperation between CEN, CENELEC, ETSI for the purpose of delivering standards in a quick way. Thank you. Then the next item on the agenda is about the Joint Advisory and Coordination Group. For this, I would like to highlight 4 different items. The first one is about CEN, CENELEC Coordination Group. The second one is about CEN, CENELEC, ETSI Coordination Groups. Then we will discuss Joint Sector Forum and finally Joint Focus Group. So when it comes to Coordination Group, these are established as short-term groups to coordinate and advise on different standardization activities. It is also important to know that Coordination Group does not develop deliverables and that they have to report to the technical board of the different ISOs. And the Secretariat is given to one member of the ISO or also to possibly to CCMC. When it comes to the membership to a Coordination Group, it is decided by the technical boards and it involves NSB or NC representative, CCMC, ETSI, various technical bodies, or the European Commission. And additional participants may also be invited as observers like European Federation, national authorities, companies, or various different stakeholders, but this is the decision of the technical board. So what are the objectives of Coordination Group? The first one is to facilitate the coordination and exchange of information between TC. It also proposes the allocation of work and possibly the coordination of potentially overlapping activities. Something else that is important is also the coordination of the development of a specific work program, notably when coordination groups are set under a specific mandate or standardization request, and the role of a coordination group is also to clarify non-technical questions to avoid unnecessary discussion in technical groups. Then I would like to also highlight the role of CEN, CENELEC, ETSI coordination group. So you should know that usually they are created to coordinate the ISO's activities under a specific mandate, and they are also often maintained after the mandate or the standardization request has been achieved to disseminate the results that have been achieved by the coordination group. The role is also to act as the interface with the European Commission and to continue to coordinate the activities of relevant technical committees. So as example, I can mention the CEN, CENELEC, ETSI coordination group on smart energy grids and the CEN, CENELEC, ETSI coordination group on smart meters. Then The next item is about focus group. So as a coordination group, focus groups are established as short-term group to ensure interaction between different European stakeholders. As for coordination group, focus group does not develop deliverables and they have to report to technical boards. Their composition, their membership, it's also decided by the technical boards and it involves NSBNC representative, CCMC, ETI members, and the European Commission as observer and also additional participant decided by the technical board. So the objective of a focus group is really to prepare overview of relevant standards for the stakeholder community, or also to define the best way of providing standard if standard does not exist. The role of a focus group is also to identify and consider relevant European legislation and the inclusion of relevant innovation or research projects. Then the last item in this section is about sector forum. So this is something that is different from focus group or coordination group because sector forums are established as long-term group to advise on and coordinate standardization activities. So the status is almost the same that for coordination group and focus group. They do not develop deliverables. They report to the technical boards. Their composition is decided by the technical boards as well. And they serve as a platform of information between relevant stakeholders. They provide support and guidance to relevant technical bodies, notably on cross-cutting issues, and they coordinate ongoing standardization activities, and also they provide relevant advice on the different requirements within EU legislation. So as for coordination groups or sector forum, the terms of reference are really important. And what do they share in common? They all those three different groups report to the technical board. They act as the interface with the European Commission. They provide overview of relevant standards and also advice on potential upcoming standardization activities.
Thank you very much, Constant, for the very holistic presentation that you've provided. Now, in the last few minutes that we have and the 2 slides, we will address collaboration that European standardization organizations may have with other stakeholders, so not among themselves. Firstly, we will briefly touch upon collaboration with research projects, as this was already a topic of a previous 1010 webinar, where there was much more information provided. We would like to highlight to you that the Horizon 2020 calls for proposals have in the past and still do include standardization relevant topics, asking, for example, for mapping of relevant standards or the development of new standards. And even if not specifically mentioned in the call, standards can be identified as relevant for the project by the project proposers, and standardization bodies can be included in the consortium. So how do we then translate this research into standardization activities and standardization deliverables? There are several ways. One of them is that research projects actually directly lead to a creation of a new technical activity. This was, for example, the case of Speedia and the Speedia 4P project, which tackled the standardization and improvement of pre-analytical procedures for in vitro diagnostics. And within the SEN TC 140 on in vitro medical devices, the Speedia's results enabled the development of the first 9 SEN technical specifications for pre-analytical workflows in Europe. The dissemination of research results can also be done through the establishment and the development of SEN and or SENELEC workshop agreements. Since we are talking about joint standardization work, I wanted to provide to you an example of a SEN-SENELEC workshop Remain, which has been established in parallel to a Horizon, well, not Horizon, but actually the Framework Program 7 project, Resource and Energy Efficiency Manufacturing. There are also other forms of collaboration whereby research projects can become licensed to SEN and SENELEC technical committees, and Constant will tell us some more now about the concept of liaison organization.
Thank you, Katerina. So this is the last slide of the presentation, which is about the involvement of EU Federation in technical bodies, according to the SEN Guide 25, the concept of liaison organization. So who does it concern? It is about independent European or international European-based pan-sectoral organization or consortia or fora of European or international undertaking. It may also concern consortia of a funded European research project. So those EU federations have different rights, among which for example, the participation in technical bodies meeting as observers. They have the right to nominate experts to working group and also to possibly submit technical contribution within a technical committees. What are their duties? They represent consensus view of liaison organization members, and they have also to comply with the internal regulation part 2 and other relevant guides. So if a EU federation wants to liaise with a technical committee, they have to submit an application to the email address which is on the screen prior to TC discussion and decision. So here we focus on liaison organization, and they are expected to provide high quality, added value expertise in a defined technical field relevant for CEN and or Senegal technical bodies, and to provide effective contribution through direct participation in their meetings. So there are various examples of EU federations that are involved in technical committees like CESED, the DLMS User Association, Digital Europe, European Biogas Association, or UNIFE for the rail industry. So you can see there's a wide range of different stakeholders. And another thing I would like to mention before finishing my presentation is that beyond liaison organization, the partnership with European stakeholders can also exist under many different aspects, like partner organization, which may have an interest into technical work of CEN-CENEC, but also in the strategic development of CEN and CENEC. We have, for example, ANEC, ECOS, or ETUC. And furthermore, another form of collaboration can take place under the frame of associated body, like it is the case, for instance, for ISD STAN in the aerospace industry. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to highlight some key learning points from the presentation we have just provided to you. Firstly, you can see the standardization is very much evolving, and there is an increasing number of topics which require cooperation between the different European standardization organizations.
And that the collaboration already exists, as you may have understood, at technical and strategic level, and this is something that will be fostered further in the future.
In the presentation, we also noted several recent CEN and CEN-ELEC BT decisions that were taken throughout this year, and these decisions will be reflected in the 2018 versions of the Internal Regulation Part 2, which will be available next year, and also on the CEN BOS and the upcoming CEN-ELEC BOS.
In a nutshell, cooperation and joint technical work among all relevant stakeholders is something that is essential for CEN-CENEC to achieve high-quality standards that represent the state of the art.